Hello there, guys. Welcome back to the LAWLOR'S Law podcast, your raw, unfiltered Birmingham City podcast with tonight's host, myself, Jordan Pink, and my very angry but happy guest, Max. How are you, Max?
Yeah, both at the same time. That's good, isn't it? I'm definitely happier, I think, this week. I don't know about you.
Yeah, mate. I'm buzzing with Coventry. There's some things that we need to get into tonight that are kind of creeping in around the edges, but we know that throughout the week, I think we've been speaking quite a lot, me, yourself, Jane, and I know you've been getting rolled up by some things, and rightfully so, and I think I'm in the same boat, so we'll get straight to it, mate. I think, first of all, we'll start off, we'll have a talk about the kind of the rumours last week circulating about Davies. I mean, I've seen a lot on Twitter saying that he'd already been told to clear off his desk. You know, he was going to be at the Coventry ground but not have any impact on the team, and then he'd be gone straight after, which seems to have, you know, not come to a head, and I think was a lot of bullshit at the time. What's your thoughts on it, Max?
I think that one was crazy, isn't it? Like, imagine if that was actually to happen, that he's basically told that he's gone, clears his desk, but then he's still got to take charge of a game. Probably one of the most important games in the last month or so, I'd say. I don't really understand. Well, I don't even know where that came from. I can't remember where that came from.
I think it was just a Twitter rumour, to be honest. But
just it's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've in all my years, I've never heard really. It probably has happened, but I can't remember a time where a manager's been sacked before a game, then has to manage the game out. And, exactly. They know their future. Maybe if anything like that was to have happened, I'd have said more with how transparent Wagner's been, it'd have been more of a, let's see, after the Cov game, we'll have a meeting. But looking at it, I highly doubt it, because he didn't change. I say that, he changed to a plan B, which I think is very rare for Davies. But as an overall, I don't think he actually changed all that much in terms of his team selection. I mean, Kumas was a big surprise for me when I got to the ground. Me and Jamie kind of looked at each other and were like, and
I'm surprised you went in.
I was, to be honest, mate, it was between, I think I stood outside the ground just absolutely freezing. I just wanted to go in and get a bovril, to be honest.
I think
it was the only reason why I got I think my tired legs just carried me into the ground just to warm up a bit. But
I understand that.
So we'll move on to Coventry from there. I think that's a good place to kind of move on to that. I think, first of all, if you want to try and break down the team selection.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that stands out the most is Kai Wagner, isn't it? I think straight away is putting him straight in at left back. I think Cochrane was injured. I'm pretty sure he picked up that niggle the game before.
Yeah.
Because he came back from injury and then got another niggle again. So yeah, he had to be out. But for me, like, Wagner, 48 hours before, didn't really know who he was, to be honest. Didn't really have a clue. We were introduced to him via kind of social media, and then it was he wanted to play, he wanted to come over, he did a little training session, and he wanted to throw himself straight in, which I think as fans is what we love and what we ask for. We love that passion, we love that kind of willingness to just dive straight into it and just absolutely go hell for leather. Known as the assist king, and 6 minutes in, he showed what he can do. But I think that I think you're right, and you are right really in terms of his setup, because he likes to do that at home, where he does go on the front foot relatively quite quickly in the first 15-20 minutes. But it was the fact that he kind of, whether he told the players to or they kind of just automatically sat a bit deeper and sat into it. It kind of, you look like Coventry with a home team a little bit for the first kind of 15-20, the way they set up. They had quite a bit of the ball. But obviously at the end they had the massive possession compared to us. So they did look like the home team with the ball, but they weren't really doing a lot with it. So Davis kind of reverted back a little bit to being like, yeah, you can play in front of us. We will kind of soak up the pressure a little bit when you've got the ball. And I think he trusted them to do that. So yeah, you are right. It wasn't wholesale changes in terms of formation, but it was just letting that away team have the ball, whereas normally we just try and dominate the ball. But when we do that, it goes sideways and backwards, which is the song that's been coming out in the last couple of weeks, and we don't really do a lot with it. So that's kind of the formation and how we decided to play. But Ducks starting up top, I did like that in the 9 role. And I'm fed up of seeing him in the 10 and just not being able to kind of do a lot, really. He seems a bit stranded in the 10. And having Jay out on the left because of Dimmy being injured, I think it worked well, because obviously you got Roberts on the right as well.
I think before the game, Stansfield out on the left kind of worried me a little bit in terms of the fact that he's kind of... I don't know about yourself, but I think that he's still got a little riding injury in there that he's maybe just sitting through to see if we... kind of it's kind of a down to if we get someone in that can take the reins for 3-4 games while he has a well-deserved break. But he worried me at first because he does like to cut in and have his shots, but he also likes to kind of pinch the touchline a lot.
You said that before.
I must say he really, really impressed me, mate. I really he kind of come into his own. I don't think it was one of them where he impressed me without doing a lot of Stansfield stuff. He was just kind of, you didn't see him much, but then when you did, you were like, oh, well, he's here, he's arrived. But I think that's where Stansfield's biggest games come from, when you don't see him for 50 minutes.
I completely agree, because I feel like with Jay, you don't miss him until he's not there. That's what I think, because when he plays and when he starts, a lot of people question what he brings and what he does, because when he's not scoring, they're like, well, he does nothing. He's just stood there. He's not bringing anything. And it's like, you don't understand how he presses. I know he hugs that touchline, like you said, but even just his demeanour and the way he holds himself and the way he conducts himself, he gets a bit of fire in the belly of everybody. And I know he needs to be careful, because I still think he's going to get a straight red one day too. But just that demeanour of him and having that price tag, and when you see his name on the team sheet, the opposition must be like, oh, they've got that Jay Stansfield starting, that he's meant to be pretty good. So it just ruffles a few feathers. And I think we massively missed him in the game when he was injured, and then now he's come back. You see what he does. So I completely agree with you with that, definitely. But as I was touching on with Ducks, you put him in that 9, and whatever happened at Watford with that fan, it put a rocket up his arse, didn't it? It must have, because he must have looked at himself in the mirror and just been like, I need to make a decision on what I do here. I think you said about, I'm going to just hide away and go back to Germany and just pretend this never happened as like a bad nightmare. Or I'm going to look at myself in the mirror and go, I can do this. I need to sort myself out. The fan was right. I was a bag of shit. I have been a bag of shit for 6 weeks. I need to sort myself out.
I think this is the thing, is we kind of expected a lot from Dux in a time where we didn't need him to do as much, technically speaking, because we've brought him in with a lot of the hype being on Kyogo, and he fell into the team at the right time when Kyogo was struggling, when we were kind of down on players, and he come in like a firecracker. But we do need to remember that he came in injured, and he picked up another injury while being here. It's going to take some time to get back up and running. We excuse players like Stansfield when they do it. We've excused players like Buchanan, Laird in the past. These players that have had a long-term injury and then they come back in, and we kind of, we could touch on Kai Wagner, the fact that he kind of chucked himself in at the deep end, and we all praise it. But if he hadn't have done, I don't think fans would have turned on him, because he's the new signing. I think that's the kind of spirit we need to take into the Dutch understanding, is that he isn't at 100%. We know that, and when he has been, we see his qualities. I think he, at the moment, is a bit part player in terms of, I think this season is just a finding his feet. Once he knows what the league's like, we'll see next season one of the best players that you've kind of seen in a blue shirt, in that big man role since you kind of early days Duke, since your Zigic. Like we haven't had that big man target player. We tried to kind of bring it in with Dykes last season, and I can't say it hasn't worked because I like Dykes in what he's done for us, but
he's just not very good. He's not a very good footballer.
And the thing is if he really wants that Scotland starting lineup, he's got to go find regular football for me. He's not going to get it under Davies. We know he's not going to get it. I spoke to someone yesterday who's a Villa fan, and he was wondering why we were getting rid of him because they've actually only heard really much about us this season was the Blackburn game. Said, since then, everything's quieting down for you. And I said, well, this is the thing, is you hear a lot about Dykes in them big moments. But when we signed him at the time, I thought it was a really strange one because we didn't need a big man. We had Duke still. We were down in League One where we had Stano coming in. I know we signed him before Stano, but, in terms of what we needed at that time, he just wasn't on my radar. Even when we were at our lowest of lows, he wasn't really on my radar. I'm not saying that that's because he's shit, because he's not. He's okay, but he's not he doesn't fit the Blues identity, I don't think.
No, not at all.
He needs the QPR, the Charlton. They've got their own identity. Our identity is ever changing, so he's never going to fit into our squad. We need versatile.
Yeah, I think you're right with that in terms of someone like Charlton, or if you think of somebody like an Oxford, or just a team where you know what their plan is really. They're strong, physical. It's the Championship, so that's going to happen everywhere. But their ethos is that we out battle, we get it on the wings, we cross the ball in, and someone's there to nod it in, or someone's there for the second ball. So Dykes is that player, and he'd probably go and do really well somewhere like that. I mean, we remember Charlton from last year with the way they scored against us away when they scored the long throw. That's all they were doing the whole game, and they shit owls basically a 1-0 against us at their place. He'd fit in really well somewhere like that, and I want him. I've got no malice towards him. I want him to do okay wherever he moves on. I want him to have a good World Cup next year. He's been okay. He scored some big goals for us at times. The Swanseas, the Bradfords. He's not a legend, of course, but he's somebody you remember of that Dykes. He was all right when he scored a few good big goals. But Dux is the man, like you said, that we need to stick with, because he seems to revel in and thrive off that kind of. If he starts a game well for 5 minutes, I think he pushes on then. I think because he started those other kind of 5 or 6 games quite poorly and he's been non-existent, I think he goes in on himself a little bit, and you can see him punishing himself. He's kind of banging his knees and he's kind of hitting himself and slapping his legs. And then when he goes and gets subbed off, he sits down and slumps in the chair, and he's clearly swearing out loud and having a go at himself, or mentally he is anyway. So if he starts well, that gets the crowd behind him, and then it kind of just builds like that, because it's just one thing after another in terms of the crowd are behind him. He started well, the crowd get more behind him, then he scores, then the crowd get behind him even more. So it's just that constant building block between him and the fans. And you saw in the Norwich game and the game against Coventry, he was like a man possessed. Would you say? I would say that he looks he looked mental. Like when he's smacking the badge and he's screaming, he's like, this is what I do, sort of thing, like fucking twatted George Hurst did. But that's kind of what he was saying, and he was giving a bit of stick back to the fans to be like, you need to stick with me because I can do this. And that I loved the first finish from the volley. Fantastic. I mean, he might try that another 9 times and he skies it over the bar, I don't know, but it was the second goal for me, and it looked like a Marlon King, Mickey Alforsell finish in that corner. It was beautiful finish.
Yeah, the way he took it round the keeper, I mean, he's kind of slotted that near post side, which, as someone who's playing goal, that is not where you want to be beaten as a keeper.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, but it was in that sweet spot, wasn't it? Sweet spot.
But it's kind of Dykes-esque from Blackburn. It's that same kind of, not in the way that the goal was set up, the way it was finished, kind of low, hard across the bottom of the keeper, where, as a keeper, you hate getting down there. And the one thing I will touch on is Rushworth isn't as good as everybody kind of makes out. I was watching him time and time again, and I think I heard the Lower Tilton at one point singing "It's All Your Fault" to him, and he just smiled and nodded, and I was like, it is, because you know, he when people said, "Oh, we got the bum end of the deal by getting Beadle and they got Rushworth," I don't think we. Well, we'll touch on that in a second, but Beadle for me is just as bad as Rushworth. I wouldn't say either one are any good. The only difference is one of them is first in the league and the other one is struggling a little bit further down.
Yeah, I think Rushworth's first in the league because of his attack. To be honest, because it didn't really at the start of the season. It didn't matter if he scored against Coventry because they'd go and score 4 or 5 anyway. That was kind of how they were playing, or even 7 against QPR. Now their goals have dried up. You're starting to see now why their form is dipping off. I think in that the first 30 seconds, Jay closed down a ball. Rushworth
sliced it back towards
almost went in. It could have gone anywhere, and I think that put him off for the rest of the game. From personally, I think he was couldn't get his head straight after that chance. I think he was like, oh, I'm going to cock this up. But yeah, Beadle's he's an enigma anyway, because sometimes when you want him to come and get the ball, he doesn't, and then when you don't expect him to come and get the ball and collect it from a big cross, he does, and you're like, oh, okay, that was all right, and then he does some good shot stopping, and then other shots that are so easy to seem to save, he doesn't seem to be able to. I mean, you'll be able to talk better on it than me because you've been a keeper, right? And I know you coach now, but you've been a keeper. So if you could break down those 2 goals, what do you think about them? Because I thought the first one for Coventry was actually a really good finish because it started outside the post, and I don't know whether he was unsighted or what, but
no. So I was sat directly behind him for the first one. And you're right in a way. It did start outside, and you could say he was blindsided by the defender. But as a keeper, his ability to save anything down low is genuinely really scary. I think I put it in our chat the other day that I watched him in the warm up, as I always do. I've got this really weird thing that I sit and watch the goalkeepers warm up. Just anything that you can take into a coaching tip in the future is handy, and it's kind of my advice to any coach or young person that wants to get into coaching. Go and sit and watch professional footballers warming up because you will get great ideas. And Taylor had Allsop, Mayo and himself taking driven shots at Beadle to get down to, and one crept literally between his elbow and his armpit and went straight underneath him. And Taylor shook his head, got the ball straight back out and made Allsop and Mayo lay him at him again. And it happened again. Taylor kind of literally signalled with the thumb out. Allsop went in and you could see Beadle's head kind of dragging down. And I'd take it if those 2 goals came and we won, and yeah, that's fine. You know, keepers can have a bad day. But it doesn't seem to be the first time, and I don't think it will be the last. He's made mistakes.
Yeah, he seems to again being an ex-keeper. You know, why does he parry the ball out into the middle of the area? Why can't he parry it? What the hell is that about? Because he started it against Norwich. I remember when Norwich got there, made it 2-1. I know we won 4-1, but the goal that Norwich scored, he just gave it to him basically. And I don't understand.
I remember that one. Straight down the middle, hits his foot, goes straight back into the play.
Yeah.
As a keeper, you want to get it into a danger, like away from the danger area. So you
push it away to the side, right? To either side.
I was always taught anywhere that's not falling to one of their players. So if you're in doubt, it goes behind or it goes as far out wide as you can. But I think the thing is with him, I referred to him against... I think it was Charlton. I was sat next to one of my friends and I said, look, he's a slightly better near leverage.
Yeah.
That's what he's up high. His saving's phenomenal. I think.
Yeah, the headers. There's a couple of back headers. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't get enough praise for the stuff up high. It's when it's anywhere down low in the bottom corners, and if you watch the second half with Coventry, everything was low driven. It was like sitting and watching me on FIFA. It just kept everything was just pea rolling across the floor because they knew he's beatable. You know, the second goal is directly at him, straight down the middle, no swerve, no defenders blocking it, no deflections, and it's just not got down quick enough. And it was the exact mirror image of what happened in the warm-up that I'm talking about. It just crawled under him. I'm just like,
because Mason Clark had a shot just before that, I think, for them, and it was basically the same. That he tried to do the same thing, and he was p-rolled it, but he got down behind it and managed to stop it. But I don't think it was a very hard shot. But the second goal for them was kind of clever, because he stood behind the defender but then went the other way, so he kind of tricked him to think he was going to go far post and then ended up going near post. But he's just, I don't know. You said that Taylor shook his head at him, so then I say, why are they persisting with him? Because his kicking's not great. I thought it was improving, but then you get these moments of just insanity when he's kicking. I don't know what he's thinking, and he's not quick enough to get it out like Allsop was. And then shot stopping down low. He is big to come and get it from a corner or a cross, so that's something. But maybe he's just too gangly to be able to get down there quick enough. Is that what you think it might be?
Yeah, I think the other thing that we need to remember is as well, he is young. So
I know that.
Keepers don't come into their own until
a lot later.
2022, you usually looking around your keepers starting to hit their peak physical side. He's very gangly, he's very skinny. I think I think that's the thing that Allsop has behind him, is once his body's behind it, it stays behind it. With Beadle, he could get his body behind it, and it's still kind of like, I don't know, I think this is the big thing, is everyone's screaming for Allsop back in, but I genuinely think that if we're going to progress and we need to go in the right direction, it needs to be a whole new goalkeepers union, I think.
I knew you were going to say that, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I think, if we're going to push up, I think you're looking at a statement name keeper, I think. I
adore Allsop. Like, don't get me wrong, the bloke's, in my eyes, he's probably the best thing we've had since your Ben Fosters and stuff, in terms of he's a blue nose, he wears his heart on his sleeve, you get a lot of kind of confidence with him in goal in terms of his kicking, he's shot stopping, but he's also then sustainable to a few errors. And I think that's the big thing with Allsop, is we were warned by Hull that he's not very good, and I wouldn't listen to a word Hull fans say. They didn't want Ollie McBurney, look at how that's turned out for him. But this is my thing, is he got found out a few times in the Championship previously, and League One, the best keeper in the league, bar none. I don't want to hear any Sam Tickles or any of that rubbish. He was bar none the best keeper in League One. Championship-wise, he's a very good lower to mid-table Championship goalkeeper, but I would keep him on board any day as a backup keeper. But I do think, if, like he said, it's got to be a big statement name, someone who is going to come into the team and go, right, wow, okay, we're looking at some serious backfire now, because what worries me is that I don't feel our backline settled in front of him enough, in front of either Beadle or Allsop. And that's what worries me, is that if you're going to have that kind of consistency with your defence, I mean, with the injuries and with the constant rotation and the lack of discipline, you need to have one mainstay in the goal. That's a big thing for a team. It has to be. I think that's why, kind of in the long answer of what you asked earlier, that's why they keep persisting with him, is because they don't want to keep changing it, because you've got Clara has been out the team now for a few games. I believe was Allsop in goal for that game when Clara got sent off.
No, I don't think so.
See, this is what's confusing me now, because it's all muddled up, because it's been Allsop for a few, Beadle for a few, then Allsop.
That was Derby, wasn't it? That was Derby. He was in, I think.
Beadle, it was Beadle, yeah. But this is the thing as well. I feel sorry for Allsop, because he got dropped in the line of fire. Our away form is atrocious, and he starts him away from home, where he's kind of, as a goalkeeper, you don't want to go into the games where a lot's going to be brought towards you. You want them kind of nice, easy, back at home, fans behind you sort of games. And to be dropped in on an away game is horrendous, because from the off, you're under the cosh.
You're facing like 20 shots, aren't you, a game? 20, 25 shots, whether they're on target or not. You literally kept busy the whole game. I completely agree. But Brad Mayo seems to be content to always sit at number 3. So whatever, that's his career. I don't know if he'll ever move on, but he just seems quite content to do that.
He's just a Bruno's boy. He loves just being at the club, I think.
Yeah, and Beadle's loan, they probably will persist with it, but that's where I think you're right in terms of the back four needs to be settled now with all that discipline and those discipline issues and stuff like that, with Clara coming in, Robinson coming in, Neumann going in, Cashin going in, Samsted coming in. There's so many. Like you said, it's like a turning table constantly, isn't it? It's one in, one out. So
yeah, I mean, sorry, Samuel was another one. He's not been consistent. I personally haven't rated him this season. There's still a long way to go, and he can change my opinion. But
you know how I feel about.
Yeah, but this is the thing is, I think as a Blues fan, I think this is the same potential thing that we've got with Wagner, is you don't want to get too worked up about a signing because, I mean, against Nottingham Forest, Asai Samuel looked like a world beater that we were going to go, oh my God, we found the next star boy here. And then all of a sudden it just all fell to shit and you go, oh, okay. But again, he hasn't really played a lot of minutes, really, when you think about it. For a right back, he's not. But again, that's another one. When Laird comes back, I don't think we see Iwata there. I don't think you see Asai Samuel there. And like Laird is your number one right back, no matter what. But this is, again, it goes back to the defence now. Cashin's gone. If we attempt to sign another centre back, you've got so many things as a team. We've got to think of everything builds from the defence, and if that's not solid, we're in trouble.
Yeah, I agree. I think you want Beadle to come good, don't you? Because I feel like there is a player in there. Yeah, like you said, he is young, so maybe giving him this second half of the season, and we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, he'll go back to Brighton, and then we get a statement name in the summer, probably. But the defence has to be solidified, doesn't it, for that second half of the season? So I think Laird is maybe February. Did they say to come back February?
Yeah, I believe so. It's around then. I'll be interested because wasn't really. Me and Jamie were talking about this on Sunday. There hasn't been a lot of updates recently coming out of the club, as in press conferences about who's injured, what's going on with training. All the way through Scott Wright and stuff. We've heard, he's back on grass. He's on track. He's doing well. Oh, he's at the physio room now. We've not heard anything really clarification-wise on Gray. Nothing on what's happened with Keshi. No one really has come out and gone, oh, well, this player's so many weeks away. He's back on grass. This will be the timeline. I think that was the thing. We haven't really had an update on Laird now for, I think you've got to be touching on 3-4 months now since I've heard his name even mentioned.
And the thing that worries me about Laird is that in the year we went down, he was a bit of a shining light, as well as Buchanan and as well as Jay Stansfield. A couple of them stood out, didn't they? That they were decent players in that year we went down. But he got a lot of hamstring issues in the Championship that year, and I think he was out for a pretty decent amount of time that year. And he's come back into League One, and I'm guessing it's just the levels of competitiveness, because those short, sharp runs that you have to do, which is way more in the Championship, your hamstring's not kind of tested as much in that League One, because we've got the ball, don't forget, for 75% of the time. He's just stood at right back, and he can pick and choose when he wants to sprint. When you're defending these wingers in the Championship, you've just got to get back, and I think that's where the injuries are coming from. And I think you saw that with Dimmy with his calf as well. So Laird, if he comes back in, is he going to be able to cope again? Because I said the year he joined that he's made of glass. That's all I kept saying, because he kept getting injured every week. Yeah,
so I think that's been a thing at every club he's been at as well. Has been mentioned. He's made of
ongoing. Yeah, and that's just, we talk about transfers and we can come on to it, but Samsted going, we've seen that rumour, and obviously Thor, but the two Icelandic lads, but the Samsted going at right back, that leaves you with an injured, kind of injury-prone Laird, brighter side Samuel, and then the kind of Iwata role that's just kind of formed out of nowhere. It's been half decent, but Iwata at right back, he does get caught too far forward.
But then you put Iwata back in that midfield the other week, and you kind of go, that's where we need him. It was Derby. He was next to Paik, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he was in the Derby game was my only real kind of
Stand out.
like I've got to give him all the praise in the world because again he's been shifted role and he just absolutely runs his bollocks off week in week out. I think he started off the season worrying me because he looked like he'd bulked up, but like it took all of his influence out of his game, and he's just become this player. And no, it's a bit of a rogue shout, and I know there's Blues fans out there that are going to absolutely hate this opinion, but he is as close to Keith Dunbald as we've had now since he left. He's that player that we've been screaming for. He's got a bit of nastiness in him. He's prone to a mistake or two, and yes, he's not a world beater, but he's got the Birmingham City identity tattooed on his forehead because he's unreal.
He's always the last one off the pitch, mate. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah. I think there's a good shout with him being captain while Clara's been out. It's been phenomenal to see because I watched him on Sunday and he's so for a bloke that needed a translator when he first come in. He's so vocal out on that pitch. And with
the ref as well, he was very kind of what's the word, respectful. He was very respectful with the ref. He stood there and had a chat with him. So yeah, it's just his. I think you're right. I think we need to get him back in that role because the right back role for him he's been morphed into. But I always feel like our issues come down that our right hand side. Like the 2 Coventry goals did start on the right hand side around the Roberts area or Iwata area. And we give the one thing I wanted to say was that we give Dimmy a lot of shit for not always tracking back for Cochrane when it was Cochrane. But I think Roberts has to be very mindful of the fact he needs to help Iwata as much as possible because Iwata's kind of being left, and these teams are doing their research and they know that that's the weak spot. And even when Samsted comes in, they know that's where to go. And yeah, I think Roberts needs to just remember he's got to help him out sometimes because I think Roberts gets away with it a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I think the thing is for me, I've watched the kind of Roberts thing, and I get where you're coming from. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But he isn't very good tracking back and defensively. No. Whereas Dimmy will put a foot in, Roberts is too lightweight. He's your out and out attacker. I think that is then where Stansfield needs to probably go, right, I'll take that role and you stay kind of tucked in the 10 with Dutch ready to kind of start the counter attack. That's something that's a training ground issue though.
But that comes from that position. That comes from having a right back that's not a right back. So if you've got Laird, he can probably look after himself a little bit better. Or if we do sign another right back, I don't know.
This is a big thing. Is I'd be interested to see Asai Samuel and Roberts now that Roberts is kind of up to speed now. Asai Samuel's played a bit more football, especially being at the AFCON. He's played pretty much every game, I think.
Well, we saw it. We saw it at QPR because they started together, and he hauled him off at half time. It wasn't good. Roberts looked lost with him behind him, to be honest. And that's not obviously we're talking about tracking back, but Roberts going forward. I saw Samuel couldn't even find him a 5-yard pass, mate. It was terrible. So
this is my thing. Is Samsted is the only player that I would say technically, so far from what I've seen this season, has stepped in and been able to do everything we've asked of a right back. Like I'm not saying Iwata's been bad at it, but like if he goes up, sometimes he doesn't get back into position enough. Or if Neumann steps out to cover him, he doesn't track back into that centre back role. He'll then go in, put 2-man pressure on with Neumann in the corner.
Yeah.
Whereas Samsted, I'll give the lad his dues. Like when he's played, he has done everything you want from a right back. And I will be more than pissed off the day that lad leaves this club because he's done nothing but kind of just be there and readily available when we've needed him. Yeah. And I think it's a shame that he's not got more game time because against Cov as well, he come on and he was put at left back, which is not his favoured side. And I didn't see him make one issue. You know, he I think he started that weird cash-in run-off that went to the corner flag for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
he's still running to Blackburn now.
Yeah. I think he was getting the engine running for that day, to be honest. But Samsted's one of those. He'll go down in one of them categories that he'll be a pub quiz player in a few years. But I am really, really gutted because Sod Williamson, he can go. Samstead needs to stay as far as I'm concerned because he's played under 21s when we've asked him. He's come on and done a job for us when we've asked him. I've seen nothing wrong with the lad. I am genuinely hurt.
That's what I wanted to ask you about Williamson as well, is what, we all, the chat that we've got, there's so many opinions flying around everywhere. Sometimes you miss each other's. I think you might know that I don't rate Williamson in this division. I don't. And I haven't rated him since he came back from his injury. I don't know what happened, but he just wasn't the same. So what do you think about him? Because I wouldn't be sad to see him go. I don't know what he offers every week he plays, and I don't even know how he gets a start. I really don't.
No, I've tried to defend him multiple times. I think there's a vlog with Tommy from last season where I was kind of very out there saying that I want Williamson to score his goal, this and that. And he actually had probably one of his worst performances of the season, I think, that game. And this is the thing, he's got probably one performance in him a season where you kind of go, oh my God, how the fuck have we signed him? And then all of a sudden, he'll just go missing for 5-6 games, and
like a 1 in 8 or a 1 in 10, and he's really good.
So I will quote exactly what I said to Jamie after the game. I met Jamie straight after the final whistle on Sunday, and I went, "You could literally put the ball on Williamson's forehead, and he'd still miss the header."
Yeah.
I've never seen a bloke that tall. I know Zigic used to annoy everyone that he didn't win enough headers. But with Zigic, he was being dragged down and being stopped from winning headers. I've never seen someone that size incapable of even flicking a head at a ball. A ball will come towards him, and he'll look at his chest first.
Just jumping,
Yeah, at that size, you don't even need to jump. Just move your head, and it will land on you.
Yeah,
I think he's one of them players. When we signed him, he did a job for us, but Terrara a bit, it's got to come to an end. I think that's the same sort of thing with Dykes. Thank you for your service. You did some really great things, and you'll always be remembered as that 111-point record player, but you're not good enough.
I'd say the same for Keshi as well. I think all these players you see in are very similar because Keshi is maybe a lower end championship player potentially, but he ran rings around some of them defenders last season, didn't he? Because he was just too good for them, and he looked like a world beater. But this year, when he's come on, he hasn't really delivered. Apart from that, maybe one goal he scored against Norwich when he came on.
Start of the season, Keshi looked exactly how he left off, and then he's another one the same as Laird and Buchanan. He kind of had that injury. Yeah, well, he had another injury, didn't he? And then he kind of come back and it looked like the football had left him. And I've been quite vocal with you lads in the chats and saying, I think now he returns to someone like a Blackpool where he's played before and he'll go and be probably one of the best left wingers in the league. In League One,
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
I think his time's kind of winding down with us. And I will again, another one. I will not say a bad word about when he leaves. I won't ever turn around and go, "Oh, he was fucking awful." Do you remember him? I'll just turn around and he'll be another player, kind of that I turn around and go, "Oh, he did all right for us, didn't he?"
I'll never forget that Huddersfield goal as long as I live. Huddersfield away goal.
This is what I'm saying. It's kind of in terms of like that David Davis sort of thing, isn't it? It's like, I'm not surprised to see him go, but thank you for the memories. You'll always welcome back down the Blues. You'll always be one of us, but you've kind of got to that stage in your career now where we're kind of going one direction and you're stalling. And I think that's the thing with Keshi is I would say he's kind of in that same breath as David Davis, and I know it won't go down well because Davis did what he did against Villa, and he was a legend for that. But Keshi's delivered us big moments as well.
No, he has. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I guess the only one that's kind of left to discuss really of that group that's kind of rumoured to go is Leonard, because Mark Leonard is. Yeah, and that's even my wife's reaction was she'd be gutted if he left because he it's like there's a player in there, but I think he just wants minutes and he's just not getting them, and that's the problem with it, and that's why he wants to go. I don't think it's not that he can't do it. I think he wants to play every week.
Yeah, and I think when he's come on, he's made maybe 2 mistakes. He's one of those players that you could sit there every week and go, like, I'd be happy if he started. Like, if we lost Doyle back to Wolves tomorrow, I wouldn't be anywhere near upset watching Leonard come into that team as some others in the past before him. I would be really, like, I genuinely, I think it's a kind of that's up there with one of the biggest mistakes that will have made kind of post Rooney era, and that's a big shout, but kind of it's one of them mistakes where I sit there and I go, what? Why? Gardner Hickman was a head scratcher in the summer, and
Bielik as well.
Bielik, I understand that because he wanted to go and play minutes, but then he's gone and done less minutes at West Brom than what we'd have probably offered him now.
Yeah.
But Bielik, it was one of them where I think we were lucky to have had the luxury of having him in League One. I think he was pretty much out the door before that, and I never speak highly enough of the bloke for staying with us through League One and putting his wrongs right. But Leonard's one of them where I've said this to Jamie on Sunday, why he didn't get more time in League One when we didn't really have the luxury. And he would have been that player then where I think League One would have built him into the best one of your Tommy Doyle brackets of players. Yeah. And what he's done is he's had to play catch up to it. And this is a controversial opinion, and I'm going to put it out there. I think he's a more all-rounded better player than Paik.
Yeah, I think he seems to want to go forward a bit more. That's something I'll say, because I've heard about Paik being a backwards merchant at times, and until he's been better. He was better against kind of Cov, but those couple of games before that, Paik was just non-existent, mate. Across December,
this is what's been mentioned by myself, and I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, and I know John said it. It's a big thing. Is that we're at a point where we've become acceptant of these players that show up for 1 or 2 games and then just disappear for the rest. And we're saying this about Williamson because he does it throughout the season, but Paik needs to be held to that accountability as well, where he can't just show up for Coventry. He needs to be there for the Watfords. He needs to be there for the Derby games. He just, I'm not slagging the guy off because it's fun. It's just that he irritates me that he's put his body on his line as much as he did against Cov, and Wagner goal wouldn't have been there without him.
No, he started it. Yeah.
But where was that against Watford?
And Southampton, mate, on Derby, honestly, I've had shit for it all season. I've had shit for it, saying about being the undroppable and whatever. You know that, because I've had that shit all year. But he cannot be dropped apparently, and it's like because of that reason, he's just like you said. We're just acceptant of he's always on the team sheet in the starting 11. If you dropped him for a couple of games, you might put the rocket up his arse and be like, "You're not playing well enough, mate." If we get in some better quality in this window, and he gets dropped, he might raise his game a little bit because he's got no competition right now. If it is Leonard's not getting ahead of him. But like you said, Leonard's maybe an all-round player. He drives forward more. I don't mind Leonard starting at all. But Leonard, for me, the whole situation is we just want Leonard selfishly to sit on the bench and come on and do a job when we feel like it, when we want it. Yeah. But then from his point of view, he's like, but I want to play. So
You've got to think
can't hold on to him like that.
He'll be thinking, like, I can get in this Scotland squad for the World Cup. If I go out now and I play regular, I can get in. And this is another thing is, I wouldn't kind of say no to Dykes for leaving because of the same reason. But Leonard, I'd be gutted, but I understand if it's him that wants to do it. But from what I'm seeing, it's not a him decision at all. It's a kind of a club. The club want him gone, and I don't. That's the part that's baffling me is that why would he be transfer listed, especially with us not having the depth that we thought we'd have. It makes unless we're going out there and we're going to go and make some huge statement centre mid signing, But then, like you said, who do we sign that goes in ahead of Doyle and Pake? Because
No, I know. I get
I mean, we're only going to go and sign another mid to lower end Championship player that sits on the table. If we're going to go big, we've got to go big next season. I think this season, consolidate, perform, get Leonard in and around the team as much as possible. Hopefully, Doyle comes back in the summer permanent, but if not, you have got a Leonard there to kind of fit the role until we know what we want.
Yeah, my problem for Leonard is that it's my fault, is that I always I always have my opinion on him too quickly. So I'll say like, oh, Leonard's coming on, maybe is it a drop in quality? And then every time he comes on and plays, I'm like, he did a job, he did all right. So it's my fault that I write him off too quickly, because I've actually, if you think of percentage wise, 90% of the time when he comes on, he actually does all right, or he plays.
I think a big thing for me is as well is I'm looking as so come away from the pitch for a minute, come away from a match day experience. Every video you watch from Blues training grounds or behind the scenes, Leonard's the joker. Leonard's the one that you always hear, and they always mock his haircut or his accent and stuff like that. Since Alfie May's gone, you've lost that. With Laird being out, you've lost that. So if you take Leonard out of that equation as well, it then becomes a part of being a footballer is you want kind of
camaraderie.
Yeah, you need a team. And I think the thing is if we go too serious, that's when you start overdoing things.
Yeah. Where's the banter sort of thing? You need that in there. You're absolutely right.
And I think that's a big thing I'll kind of refer to it in like a wrestling terms in a way, is you always hear about these big characters in the locker room and, the ones that made it fun for everyone, while you had the really big men that made it serious. Football's exactly the same. It needs to have its jokers. It needs to have its Jimmy Bullards, where you've got your Duncan Fergusons. You can't just all be serious 100% of the time. You do need them. Like, I think the biggest miss was Alfie May. In terms of that kind of laugh and a joke about, and the football's just as serious, but after the game, in a silly face.
A lot of them are young lads. Like, a lot of them are a lot younger than us. So a lot of them are young lads that is their kind of an early to mid 20-year-old is a lad, and they want to have a bit of a joke and they want to have some banter. And then it's the kind of more experienced players that, I don't know, that's Alfie May's the exception to the rule there, but it's normally the more experienced players that kind of calm them down a little bit. But I was thinking, watching that Cov game, I saw Doyle kind of jeering the crowd up like that again.
Constant.
Haven't seen that for months since Laird's been out. No one's done it.
Laird's the only one. And I think that's a big sign for us, is that I think this is a segue over to something that we've spoke about, both of us, multiple times in previous podcasts. The atmosphere is fucking horrific. Home and away, it's getting scary. I mean, Watford kind of was there because of the sideways and backwards song, which kept it going. But the away games I've been to, silent for a huge majority of the game. At home, we start off so well for the first 5-10 minutes, and I've got to kind of go to what the stadium announcer says before the game. We're supposed to be the 12th man. We've always been a nasty club that people have not wanted to come to. Now, if the football on the pitch is as good as we've had it sometimes at home this season and last season, why are we not backing that up in the stands? I've seen someone on Twitter say that there wouldn't be an atmosphere against Coventry because it's 12 o'clock and we only operate when our fans are drunk. Well, that's not true. I've been to many a game where it's been an early kickoff, and the Villa games back in the day. I know it's Villa and we're always going to show up for them, but they were always early. We always made noise. We were always loud as fuck, and it's just gone. I think that the heart of the fan base now is happy clapping along and just sitting there and relaxing.
You've said it before, and I think that you've definitely said it before, but I think a part of it is we had that luxury last year of we'd go 1 or 2-0 up and we'd just sit behind the ball and they'd sit in a block and they wouldn't be able to break us down, and it was a bit boring at times. Those games just kind of fizzled out, and you knew we'd win with 1 goal. Do you know what I mean? When it was at home, so that atmosphere we didn't need to carry the players through because it was almost like they were just going to win either way in the main. I think a part of it's to blame for that. And it's carried through to this year, but they need them more this year because those games are harder. I used to go, and you would have gone when we'd get 14, 15, 16,000 down St Andrews, and there was people dressed as seats every week, and it was fucking terrible. But that Tilton Road, mate, was louder by 10 times to try and suck that ball into the net when we were struggling or we were losing or we needed that equaliser or whatever, or the winning goal. Where has that gone? And I don't know what happened.
I met Jamie when I think I was at 12 or 13 when I first started going down on my own. And we had this kind of, it's cringy to look back on now, but we called it the Block 10's Barmy Army. We all sat at the front. There were some right characters in there, and I think everyone will know who they are. John was one of them. There were some right characters in that Block 10 lot. And we used to give pelters to the goalkeepers. And I think I've told the story about when I called Bullard a Jippo and he laughed at me and he was doing that. But like, we used to laugh because Block 11, you'd hear them sing constant all game, non-stop. Yeah. It wouldn't knock off. And then you had like little pockets just appear where they'd run a rival Block 11. And it was always that one thing of like, if you had nothing else to sing about, you'd turn round and point at Block 11 and start singing "We Hate Villa" more than you. You know,
but even your blocks 38 and 39, which normally give the shit to the away fans. You know, I can't just.
That's being policed out of them, though. We sat for Southampton. Me and my partner and their daughter went. And we were sat in the family stand, and it's a family stand, and I always get that family stands aren't what your Tilton Roads and your Cop are, but you've always had a little kind of the kids get to swear because they're only allowed to swear at the football, and you know the adults that are in there still give it a little bit of abuse. Yeah. But now the last few times I've sat in the family stand, there was a group of lads in front of me and the wife, and they were stood up, not bothering us at all. The little one was stood on her chair. She could see past them. She wasn't fussed in the slightest. And the stewards said, sit down. It's a seating stadium. It's this, it's that. Well, we were the back 2 rows. The only people behind us are the boxes. They're well over our head height. So why does it matter if these lads want to stand up? They're not blocking our view. They're not bothering anyone else. They were just there having a good time, enjoying the football. And then down the front row was a lad with I'd say it was with his dad or his brother or something, and he was giving pelters to one of the Southampton fans warming up. And the Southampton fan give it a bit back. And the stewards went and moved him into the Tilton from there because he was bothering the substitutes. It's been so policed out, and I get that that's the case in the Block 38 and 39. But even if we were to just sing the Cardiff dance for 90 minutes, it's just something. You need to get something going where it's a constant pump of noise because the audio's been upgraded, the DJ's bouncing. Why are we just so flat?
Like you said, it starts well. First 5, 10, 15 minutes because of the fireworks and the DJ, it always starts well, but then it tails off, and it's when the team need us more to do it. And I'm not just, don't get me wrong, I don't want to feel like, Blues fans watching this that sit in the Tilton or sit in those Block 38, 39. I'm not trying to come at you on your own. The whole stadium, including me, including all of us, we need to do better. And that spirit of the club, and that's what I worry about the big stadium coming in. I just want us to, the way it's being built, great, we can keep the noise in, but it's only okay to keep noise in if you're making noise.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing is for me, the big thing is it's away games. Yeah. One of my mates phoned me after Watford, and he said, no, I haven't been to an away game. He said, in that long. He said, where you used to look round and it'd be all the lads that you knew and this and that. Now it's everybody's missus and the kids are there and this is happening and that's happening. He said for 90 minutes, George, he said, I take no piss at all. He said, the front 3 rows were all sat down at an away game. And I was like, that's mental. Like, I get it, like, not everyone's able to stand, but I've never heard of 90 minutes at an away game just sat down. I get the football wasn't great.
No,
but like,
mate, we were, in that Karanka Pep Clotter era, me and Jamie used to go away quite a bit because you could get a ticket. So, it's hard to get tickets, but we could get a ticket. And I've got videos from 5, 6, 7 years ago, mate, of setting flares off in Preston away in the bar, and they're fucking climbing on the roof. And then I went to Bristol, and I was, at Bristol they have those flags that cover the front like 6, 7 rows. We scored. I rolled when Chong scored. I kind of rolled on one of them, and the steward picked me, like pulled me off. And it's like all that kind of craziness is just, it's like the Tebbely song would be there and it'd be bouncing, and that's all gone away. Like, it's just disappeared.
It's because it's a bring your bird now, you know what I mean? Whereas everybody used to go, and I'm not saying I want everyone to go away and start fighting and doing all of that stupid shit again, but like some personality back would be nice. It's not a fucking trip out with your missus, send them shopping, you go on your own, especially, this is the thing, my missus comes, she sings the song, she gets involved.
And mine.
If you're going to bring your bird and she's going to sit there for 90 minutes with a fucking strap on her because all she wants is to go to the bar, don't fucking bother. Go on a night out instead.
I think both of our partners they're pretty good. They're very good at singing, and they get right involved. Absolutely, they're like little mini female Zulus, mate. They're mine. Yeah, she's crazy.
My missus loves to give it, and then she's unfortunately her dad's a Villa fan, so she likes to give it the big ones. But she'll give it. You know what I mean? Even my little one, she's 5, and she's probably bad parenting from me, but she's giving it every fucking F and Jeff under the weather. She stands there with her fingers up to the away players. She don't care. That's what I was brought up as a kid to know. You went down to the Blues if you didn't like hostile environments. Yeah. Go to Villa Park.
It's the Zulu. All the Zulu, like the Zulu's obviously there still. We get that, but that kind of. It was so intimidating, both at home and away. And away, you could hear the noise from our end, and it would scare home teams. It would scare home fans. And we'd do the whole Millwall thing where it'd be like, we're Birmingham City, we do what we want. And it has just tailed off, hasn't it? So I don't know, mate. I don't know what the answer is. We just have to try and get behind them home and away. But it's the chicken or the egg, isn't it? It's which came first, because you're watching absolute dross away from home. So when Tommy's doing his match day, vlog, and everyone looks miserable, they fucking are, because it's so bad to watch. You can't get pumped up for that. So does the fans have to start singing to get the players playing? I don't think so, because the players are paid a lot of money every week. They should be playing well and getting us behind them. That's my personal opinion. But then that's more to your point that at home they do play well. So why don't we sing?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of that domino effect, isn't it? You start playing well at home, we get loud at home. If that away form does pick up, then we need to be there and backing them. Like, there's so many times where I can point out this season where I just, even if you sat at home watching on the TV, my old man, obviously, he's bedbound, he can't go to games and stuff like that. He'll phone me now and he's George, where are the Blues fans? Like, what do you mean? Which part of the ground they in? I'm like, well, you can see them on the TV. No, but usually you can hear them. He was like, I can hear them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I grew up in by Saltley School. We were in earshot really of the ground on a match day. And when I was growing up, you could go and stand in the back garden. You knew when Blues had scored.
Yeah. Now,
I doubt that you'd even hear it from the wheel site.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say on it is when you go to away games, if you can. I mean, I haven't been to many in the last year or two because it's just so difficult to get a ticket. But those that go away week in, week out, when you watch it on Sky or Blues Plus or whatever, I feel like they do filter a lot of it out, because when you do watch like Tommy's vlog, there's way more singing than you can hear when you watch the TV.
There is, but there's also, I mean, this is coming from me and from people that I talk to around. it's pockets again. It's whereas away games used to be the whole stand would be singing, and I get it's a bit harder now that we're getting higher allocations to go away, but that's because we're a bit better behaved than we used to be. We're getting higher allocations because we're behaving ourselves. I'm not against the allocation going down by a couple of hundred if we just start being nasty bastards and singing and giving it fucking pelters for 90 minutes.
I agree. But yeah, I feel like we've gone down a road.
Yeah, we're coming up to we've just passed an hour of recording, so I think if we just quickly touch over transfers, incomings, outgoings. Obviously, we've spoken a lot about incomings. What would you like to see, Max?
I want that person to come in and challenge Paik 100%. I don't know who that is. I know we've had a Luco 9 linked today. He's a bit of a versatile kind of midfielder, isn't he? So I wouldn't say no to him, because although he does get injuries a lot as well, I think that he wears his heart on his sleeve. So he was fantastic for Sunderland, and I think they'd be sad to see him go anyway, just like they are with Roberts. I did want that. Kyogo's a mad one, because I think Nathan said it on our chat that we might be able to get some money for him to go back. And I think if that's the case, cut your losses and take the money and run, sort of thing, because it's just not worked, has it? And then if Dykes goes, we will probably need another striker to come in. Again, who that is, I'm not sure. But
the rumour mill, just before we come on air tonight, I was looking through Twitter, and for some, I don't know where it's come from. I don't know how true it is, and I'm not in the know and I'm not speculating, but all I'm seeing is Che Adams. And then, interestingly enough, while we were on the kind of pre-game to build up to this, I was looking at the football scores, as I was telling you. Che's on the bench for Torino. So, interesting, because, if that is a genuine rumour, I don't think he'd have even been in the squad tonight. But little to no truth, who knows? I mean, I'm not going to ever say no to him coming back to the club.
Not at all. We'd all take it in a heartbeat, wouldn't we? We've said it since the summer. We wanted him in the summer, so what an upgrade that would be, I think, because we just, Kyogo's got the movement, but whether it's confidence or he's just not happy playing out of Scotland, I don't know, because he just can't seem to hit a barn door, can he?
And then the other rumour I'd been hearing about, and I've spoke to Jamie about, was I think it was Sheffield United and Norwich were interested in Leonard. But from what I've heard, again, I'm not in the know. I don't want anyone shooting the messenger. It's not anyone's fault. The rumour that I'd heard was the Leonard deal to Norwich would only be happening if we could work out a swap with payment for Sargent.
Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah, so that's kind of rumour mill stuff that you hearing every day. But
I tell you what, when we played Norwich at home, he was their only decent fucking player.
Yeah, but he's also a worrying stat is that there was a stat come out today of highest missed chances in the Championship this season. Now, I looked at it and was like, Kyogo's going to be way up there. Yeah, I think he's somewhat silly, like fourth or fifth. He's not missed that many chances because, as I previously stated in other vlogs, in other podcasts, is that he doesn't genuinely get that many minutes to get the chances. And when he gets the chances, yes, he's missed a few, real bad ones. But as a striker, you need to be taking 3 or 4 of them, and one of them will stick. Mm-hmm. And to miss 12 with the amount of time he's had, I don't think it's that bad. But top of the list is Josh Sargent. So are we then going to go? I know that's kind of, it's shooting in a barrel, isn't it, really, when I say it? But are we then going to go from someone who can't score to someone who's low on confidence and will struggle to score? Or do we need to go and get someone who comes straight in and fires?
Yeah, I mean, I saw that, I don't know what you think, but I saw that obviously Callum Wilson's a free agent.
I think that was...
I'm thinking about the level of the Championship compared to the Premier League, because he always seemed to play well in that league. So I don't know. What do you think?
So there's a big thing. I know a lot of Coventry fans were making noise about it because obviously he played for Cov in the past. There's a lot of noise around him going to Cov. There was another team I'd seen. Was it Leicester? I think it was Leicester have been linked with him. I don't think he's kind of in that. I think he's on so much stupid, like 200k a week. I don't know. I don't want to go with someone like him that's going to rinse just your wage package. maybe for 6 months. Again, the other one was I can't remember his name, but I seen a Cov fan earlier linking us to a Portsmouth player.
All right.
Apparently, they wanted to go and sign him, and we've outbid him. But I didn't quite catch all of that. I just seen it floating about on Twitter. So I try and stay away from speculation as much as I can. I do pick up on the rumours.
Yeah.
I'll try and see if there's any truth in it, because we've got a lot of friends that, you know, we can talk to and stuff. But I so far, there's nothing. I think I put it yesterday morning saying I'm a bit worried that we're kind of getting late into the window and we're hearing more about outgoings than any rumour coming in. And, you know, as much as I'd like it that way, and I'd like us to keep our cards close to our chest, as a fan, you worry because you're genuinely getting to that point now where you're like, we're going to have no squad. And we
I think I replied to you on that and said that obviously sometimes you got to go out before you can come in. Sometimes the way it works, but I say I trust him. You talk about Craig Gardner that absolutely fucked the summer potentially, but I think that I do think that they will have knowledge and they will have plans of who they're going to get in. I think they'll have been looking at it for quite a while, because I think Wagner said he'd been spoken to a month ago. Was it a month ago?
Yeah.
So they'll have known that we were struggling over Christmas and over that December period. You know, Wagner's not stupid. He'd have known that we were struggling. We needed some reinforcements. I just said it earlier, actually, that before I came on, that it's almost like the squad that we started the season with. It was like, go and see what you can do with that squad and see where you get to halfway through the season. If it's enough, great. If we can be top 10 at Christmas, brilliant. And if it's not, then we'll have to reinvest again. And I think it's ended up being the latter because we've struggled a little bit.
What worries me is that the rollover to next season, if we don't get where we want to be by the end of this season, does that then put a bit more of a restraint on us going into next season? Or do we just kind of, like I said earlier, consolidate down this season, and then do we just go gung-ho in the summer and really kind of go after it, offer the big money for Doyle to Wolves because they're coming down anyway? This is a genuine thing that I worry about, is that the teams coming down are a lot scarier than the teams that we faced so far, and that worries me. Then I'd rather get it done this season. As late as it's getting, I'd like to get it done this season before you like your Wolves and your West Ham's come down, because
I will say I watched a bit of that game last night, that West Ham game, and I said when I was watching it, we'd give them a game if we were at home against West Ham. I tell you what, they look poor, mate. They look poor.
I think this is the thing that I was saying to Jamie on Sunday. We would give anyone a good game. You know, on our best day, we could give anyone a game. What worries me is that we're not every other team in the league, and I look at that Wolves and West Ham kind of coming down, and I go like, who in this league stops them?
Yeah.
Yes, there's going to be the odd big result. Like, we could go get a result against them. You might get if Oxford miraculously stayed up, they might go and get a result, or a Preston get a result against a team like that. But for the rest of them matches, they go out and they win comfortably. That's the worry that you've got to think about, is it's not what we can offer, it's what they can do to other teams.
No, I know.
Scares me.
I know. And I think kind of concluding that kind of transfer section, I think we'll probably end up coming back on, won't we, throughout January and doing some more podcasts, because we'll have to do kind of emergency reaction ones, and we might have a deadline day one as well, because there'll be loads that comes in the next 3 weeks, won't there? Absolutely loads will happen, ins and outs. So right now I feel like we can talk about it, but right now it just feels like speculation, and it's both in and out speculation. So apart from Wagner and kind of, I think Dykes is going to go, there's just a lot of speculation. So we'll have to touch back on it, I think.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Well, I think that'll wrap it up for tonight nicely. And then, like you said, I think if we try and get Jamie and ourselves all back together with any incomings, and maybe try and get a live stream together for deadline day, that'd be
good, actually.
Sit up to the close.
Definitely. We'll give Jamie a little bit of a shout out, because he's at home feeling a bit rough anyway. We need to give him a cuddle, because he's snotting out and he's sneezing everywhere and coughing. So bless his little heart.
Yeah, that's why you've had to deal with me annoying everyone tonight with the hosting. Jamie is unfortunately not very well. So.
Smashed it.
Well, what we will say is for tonight, hopefully we start seeing some deals wrapped up in the next few days.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for tuning in tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, Max. And
my pleasure, always.
We hopefully will get some more stuff out soon. And keep right on Blue Nosies. Like and subscribe and share around where you can.
Keep right on.